Well, it looks like you're in the magic laboratory right there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in the room I spend way too much time in. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're honored to have you on with us today because, oh my gosh, what an amazing show! And I'm not alone in it, but also what an amazing honor because this to carry on such an amazing tradition has to be one of the highlights in life, right?
Yeah, it's a life highlight, professional highlight, but it was also very daunting. Like, being in that world and given its musical history, it was quite the initial challenge.
Yeah. Well, of course, everyone loves Star Wars and the John Williams score and all that. And all of a sudden you're tasked with sort of carrying on and that must have been, I'm sure not as many things make you nervous, but this might be one of them, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, when because I had to because I had to join very quickly and because we didn't have a lot of time, there are moments where that actually works to your advantage because you don't have time to second guess, you don't have time to be scared. So I had my 24 hours of
Mhm.
utter and total fear. um but after that, and after talking to Tony Gilroy, I think they kind of calmed me down and put me at ease and said it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And then once you jump into the work, it's great, and then it becomes just about doing the work and just about scoring the scenes. But I I would be I would be telling a fib if I said I wasn't very aware of my situation, how lucky I was, but also the surrounding composers around me, and the quality. So I yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, and also going into season two, what's interesting is when we first saw the trailer, we saw music that we didn't expect to hear there, which is also kind of the cool thing that you get to do with this world, right?
Yeah, I mean, in that case, the trailer, if I remember correctly, was all Tony Gilroy
Yeah.
thinking that, like, oh, that, like, he heard the song. In fact, he called me, if I remember correctly, he called me a few weeks before the trailer came out and said, I think I found a song I really like for the trailer. But it's so
Mhm.
different than obviously any sort of
Yeah.
traditional scoring for Star Wars. And it's obviously, even the source music for Star Wars is so different. So it was kind of a refreshing way of doing the trailer, but it was a bit of a misdirect in terms of the music, how it was going to musically be approached. And so I think when people started hearing the actual score I'd done, it's like, oh, okay, this is this is more in the world
Yeah.
that was established in season one. But trailers get to do that. Trailers get to have that extra bit of fun of
Yeah.
kind of trying oblique strategies, so to speak.
Hmm. And of course, once the show's already hit and people already love it, does that make it easier going into a second season, or does that make it harder because now you feel like you have to, do something different and ramp it up a little bit?
No, actually, that's a really good question. Okay, I would say because the show's really good, it's well written, it's well
Mhm.
executed, it's obviously amazingly acted and shot and costumes, etc. Because of all that, it makes it my job easier because it's almost like I can do no wrong from some standpoint because I'm already dealing with such wonderful material. I think I think where it is harder is coming from Nicholas Britell's season one score, which is,
Mhm.
beloved and is wonderful, and then trying to kind of thread the needle of making sure that I pay homage to that so it has musical continuity and continues, but then at the same time bring my own stuff to it, and at the same time service whatever the needs are of season two, which are its own beasts in terms of story.
Yeah.
And so you're navigating a creative minefield, and I don't mean that in a negative way. But there's
Mhm.
all these little micro challenges that you're like, okay, well, where do I bring in a season one theme? Where do I um this is how I would score this, which is different than maybe how season one. And so a lot of it's discussions, and many discussions with Tony Gilroy and the creative
Mhm.
team, and John Finkley, the music editor. And so we all just kind of found common ground, scene by scene by scene, episode by episode.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I got to know, what was the bug that bit you, so to speak? Was there a certain movie soundtrack or TV show or just a piece of music that you heard that kind of set you on this path to where you are now?
Yeah, I would say the biggest influence for me, I'm probably not alone in this, would be John Williams. So
Yeah.
when I was a kid, the Empire Strikes Back score, the this like
Hmm.
it uh it definitely lit a fire under my butt in terms of like and it was I think one of the first scores I listened to like really away from the picture and became so aware of just the music on its own and I couldn't really pinpoint why I was so moved by it, but I think what it and now I can look back on it and just besides the craft and the brilliance of it, it's so immersive. And I think that's what
Hmm.
good film scores are, regardless of style. It doesn't matter if it's jazz. It doesn't matter if it's orchestral, and it doesn't matter if it's like a Trent Reznor score. If it's immersive, it brings you. You hear five notes, and all of a sudden you're back in the scene or in that movie, and that's what I loved about it. And I loved being able to the idea of being able to dramatically tell a story, but using music, and and then even today it one doesn't get any easier. You think over time you're like, oh, I've been doing this for a few years now, this should be going faster and smoother, and it
Hmm.
doesn't. You Every scene has its own challenges, dramatically and musically and pacing, and how are you going to flow, how are you going to transition. And so every day is a wonderful lesson in humility, professional humility,
Yeah.
because you basically start the day with a blank scene, and by the end of that day, you got to have basically 2 minutes of music written. And um, so some days are harder than others, obviously. But yeah, I would argue it was John Williams, and then people like Thomas Newman really influenced me back in the
Hmm.
day. And I love James Newton Howard's early scores
Yeah.
for M. Night Shyamalan's films like Signs and obviously
Hmm.
Sixth Sense. So those were all major influences, and then obviously the classics like any Ennio Morricone score. So yeah, a wide range for sure.
Hmm. And now you're that guy for other people, which is the coolest thing in the world. And so, for those kids or people that are at home listening to your score and thinking, "See, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to go down this path." What advice would you give them?
Oh, a good question with a lengthy answer. No,
Yeah.
um, I think the advice I would give. This is something I learned because I had a jazz background, so I got started as a jazz guitarist, and I remember I had a jazz teacher that said, if you want to learn how to, jazz is a lot of improvisation, but if you want to learn how to improvise well over something, then copy what the masters did. First, copy that, because even though you're not going to ever play the solo note for note or improvise note for note the way they did, you're going to pick up through osmosis. You're going to pick up the inflections. You're going to pick up the phrasing. You're going to pick up the the way they even the note choices, and you somehow store that internally. And so I think my two pieces of advice would be: one, copy, analyze your favorite film scores. So if your favorite film score is a Hans Zimmer, thing from Dune, then try to copy that cue. You try to copy the sound of this, and how do you do this, and how do you do the sound. Try to copy it, and you'll definitely dine at the Humility Cafe, because it's like, you know. But that would be the first thing, and then once you progress a little bit, I would try to find somebody who you really admire and try to see if they need an intern, or if they need help, or if their interns need help, because you just get a tiny little toe in the door, and sometimes that's enough to kind of you know at least get you on the merry-go-round.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny. My co-host is Drew Pearson, one of our great Dallas Cowboys, caught the Hail Mary, went in the Hall of Fame, and we talk about those Hail Mary moments, the moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. This has got to be one of them, right?
Oh, totally, totally. But I've also been
Yeah.
I also cannot stress enough the level of uh, luck combined with relationships combined with
Mm.
experience. So like
Yeah.
I think if someone told me when I was younger how long it would take to get to a place in your career, I just wouldn't believe them. It wouldn't even. I would not even. I wouldn't even be discouraged. I just flat out wouldn't believe them. Oh, that's impossible. I think looking back on it, you see the perspective of like, oh, I wouldn't have gotten this gig without a relationship with John Finkley, who recommended me for it.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have worked with him if it hadn't been working on World War Z years and years ago. I wouldn't have been
Hmm.
ready to write on this thing. I would have fallen on my face without the experience of several years. So all of these factors kind of combine. So your Hail Mary moment is that you also have to be kind of ready for it. And it's a confluence of all of the things that have occurred in your life. I mean, not to be super dramatic, but it is like that moment when, like,
Oh, sure.
the Lord of the Rings moment, all roads have led to this,
Yep.
to this moment in your life. And so there's an element of that I do think people have to be patient with. Younger people have to be patient with is recognizing if you were handed everything right now, the gigs come when they're ready to come. You keep at it,
Hmm.
but they will come. You just have to be persistent and then persistent on top of that.
Yeah. Well, a part of that is that mindset. We also talk about that on the show. Is there something that you tell yourself that keeps you on the right path always, even when, because sometimes the notes don't always come to you, or, we're hard on ourselves as creative types, right?
Yeah, I'm really really bad with being hard on myself. I have massive imposter syndrome, and so I for me I have to keep that in check and trust the process. So you say, okay, my process is this.
Mhm.
It will come, right? That's from the creative standpoint. But then from, let's say, a relationship and moral standpoint, a moral is a bit of an extreme word, but it does. My one rule is how you treat people and how you work with people, whether they are working for you or whether you're working for them. I try to always make sure I'm proud of I can hold my head high with how I treated them. So when, as you well know, any industry, it's a smaller industry than you think. And you're going to be
Mhm.
seeing the same people over and over again through the years. And some of them are going to get ahead of you. Some of them are going to be behind you, and you're going to ebb and flow. And so I always try, obviously because it's the right thing. But in addition to that, I try to treat people in a way that I can hold my head high. And that came from also being treated that way. I'm very lucky. I've had wonderful people I've worked for that have instilled that in me. Uh, but the actual creative frustration, like I said, I thought that was going to start coming easier, and baby, it does not. You just like every day, it's like you're starting from scratch. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Is there a particular piece from the score or particular scene that you're really, really proud of that you just couldn't wait for everyone to share in?
oh yeah. So okay, so one of my first conversations with Tony Gilroy was
Mhm.
he's a pretty he can be a pretty intimidating guy. And I mean, not
Yeah.
just in terms of his what he's done professionally. And so when I first met him, he's like, "All right, listen, we need a theme for Yavin, the planet. I mean, the moon of Yavin. So we need a theme for this other planet, Mina Rao, and there's a Tie Fighter chase." So you can only imagine, like the 8-year-old boy in me getting to like knowing I get to score a Tie Fighter, a Tie Fighter chase, and
Mhm.
then to do planetary themes, and in addition to be able to write a theme for Yavin, which didn't have a theme in A New Hope. And so the Yavin thematic material, the Mina Rao theme, and then I would say the
Mhm.
TIE Fighter chase, those three scenes um really were like the giddy school, like 8-year-old
Mhm.
schoolboy in me playing with his Star Wars toys, like that really came out during those scenes. And it was yeah, it was a that was, I think, more than anything, those are the moments when you have a big approach shot coming into a planet with a spaceship. I'm like, I'm actually scoring a Star Wars planetary approach sequence, or I'm now scoring a legit TIE fighter sequence. Oh, and I just got an update from ILM with their like from with their VFX. It's so surreal to
Wow.
be in that world. And so
Mhm.
uh it's an honor, a pinch me moment honor.
That's amazing. That's just a great life accomplishment. And so after this, I cannot wait to see what you got next for us. So what else are you working on we need to know about?
So I'm working on another project with Eli Roth coming up, and then a couple things on the burner I'm not allowed to talk
Mhm.
about, but it's yeah, it's gonna be a fun year and a half here coming up. So
Ah, that's amazing. Well, we're so happy for you. So proud that you've been able to do this and make a childhood dream come true. So we'll be rooting for you and really appreciate your time and the great answers today and look forward to talking again soon.
thanks so much, Paul. Thanks for
Okay, thank
having
you
me.
so much. Appreciate you. Okay, bye-bye.